Recyclico, making lithium-ion last forever. Recyclico's patented recycling process achieves up to 100% recovery of battery metals from lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, and aluminum. Recyclico Battery Materials Incorporated trades on the TSX Venture AMY, on the OTCQB AMYZF, and Frankfurt ID4. For more information, visit recyclicode.com or phone us at 778-574-4444. Recyclico, making lithium-ion last forever.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters, also known as VRTrader.com. He's speaking to us from Arizona. Welcome back to the show. And sounds like, Mark, the dog days of summer are here.
Looks like they're over.
Oh.
It's starting to get a little cool here at night, even here in Phoenix. So, I think looking forward to the autumnal equinox coming up in about a week and some cooler temperatures.
Do we have a special offer for our listeners today?
Yes, let's give it to new subscribers only. Half off. Go to VRTrader.com, and when you get to the promo code section on the order page, you enter 2022 half off, just as it sounds, and you get 50% off of any newsletter for any time frame you specify. Again, that's at VR Trader. And while we're talking about ordering, I do want to make that disclosure that I'm not a financial advisor, nor do I provide financial advice, but we do our technical and cyclical research, and I've been doing it now 45 years.
Now, the stock markets seem to have recovered from that bump. Was it a little bump? Was it a concern? Or are we just in calm times before the storm?
Well, yesterday, that bump I think you're referring to, when the Dow was down about 700 points intraday and then it recovered, was coincident with an event called Weird Wally Wednesday. I don't know if we talked about this on the show before. It was created by an old contact of mine, Don Molenchuk, many decades ago. And it has to do with, it refers to the next week's options expiration. And basically it stipulates that option premiums are deteriorating ahead of the expiration next week, and many traders are rebalancing and rolling their option positions forward. So it's not uncommon to get a shakeout. Doesn't happen every Weird Wally Wednesday, but many do. You get this shakeout, and that usually suggests that a rally will follow, particularly the next week, toward that options expiration. So he called it Weird Wally Wednesday. So I mark it on the calendar, and sometimes you get these volatilities on the Wednesday prior to option expiration. Now, others may attribute to, concern on economic reports or what the Fed's going to do. There were some stories yesterday, well, he may not lower the Jay Powell we're talking about half a point. It may only be a quarter point, and traders were hoping for more. And this whole thing about interest rates, it's a comedy of errors. It's been going on for many, many months, almost a year, anticipating interest rate cuts that didn't happen. Meanwhile, the stock market went up anyway. So, people saying, they're buying because it's going to be lowered, but it's never lowered. And it just, money supply issues are more important. What's the Fed really doing? Are they loosening money supply? Are they tightening it? Are they making credit more available or less available? And these are more important questions than whether the Fed funds rate has dropped a quarter point or a half a point. And in fact, history says, as we've said before, that often that's a sign of recession. There's a reason why they would lower interest rates, that something has gone awry and there's something they need to do. And unfortunately, history also says that you can see a decline in the market following a drop in interest rates. So whether this time is different or not, we have a presidential election coming up, a lot of, market manipulation involved, both in terms of the way the financial press is interpreting the data, what the government's doing or not doing, and there's just, a lot of cross currents here. So, for the hardy bulls who just, hung in there and held the S&P and held their stocks and just overall bullish because of an election year, they were the smartest ones because the indexes did move higher. Not every stock, but the overall indexes did participate. So, that's sort of the rule. The market climbs a wall of worry in a certain way, and on the other hand, it's bullish, So that's the short term on the action on the sell-off yesterday. So meanwhile, you got the cyclical picture coming up here with the equinox, the 2021st. I like to watch this time frame, so maybe it'll be a high in the market. We'll see how it all plays out. You've got, we watch all the other activities out there, solar activities, lunar activities on the cycle front. So we'll see how it all plays out. But apparently the bulls are still in charge. And in fact, the bulls are particularly happy in the gold market today. The gold market surged to another new high. So that was great for those who are looking for that. So what's the market really saying? Are they anticipating a Trump victory or a Harris victory, or nobody really knows? I think the market would prefer Trump in there, particularly since the Democrats here in the U.S. are talking about, raising taxes and possibly even taxing unrealized profits on stocks, which is just preposterous. In fact, Mark Cuban, came out with a comment, I think it was day before yesterday, even though he's a big Democrat or supporter of Harris, that would be, significantly dangerous to the financial markets, and people would move out of the markets because they would be taxed on unrealized gains, and they'd probably go into private equity, and it would be disastrous. So I don't think that proposal would actually go through because it's so ridiculous to be taxed on something you haven't even realized profits on. But, we're dealing with a Democrat administration who are, in my opinion, mentally ill, so that's you expect just about anything coming from their mouths. But right now, we'll see how the market plays into the interest rate event on September 18th, which is one day before the next lunar cycle and only a day or two before the autumnal equinox. So a lot of forces at work here. And looking skyward, there's a new sunspot activity unfolding. So apparently I got a bulletin today that Earth-orbiting satellites detected a strong, they call it X13 class solar flare, and though it's not facing the Earth right now, apparently when the solar spots face the Earth, that's when you have the risk of the Carrington event and the big stuff that we've been talking about. So apparently it's not facing it, but they say it may be facing the Earth next week, which would tie right into these other cycles that I've been referring to. So, I'm just speculating. What if there's a huge solar activity around the time when all these other events are happening? Should be interesting times if it does happen. My overall feeling is the markets are way overdone. People are way too optimistic. There is recession underway, even though the financial press doesn't want to talk about. The small guy is not doing well. Small businesses, it's being masked a lot, by the movement in the big stock indexes and a lot of money, moving on the Jello, moving on the plate here, I guess, is the best explanation. So, it wouldn't surprise me that the market has a big drop, following all these events pass us by. But meanwhile, until that happens, we just take it a day at a time here.
Well, taxing potential profits. Here in Canada, back in the days when Liberal Jean Chrétien was Prime Minister, he was going to bring in a tax that would tax artists on their unsold paintings. And Tony Onley, one of Vancouver's most famous landscape artists, said, really, a painting, what if I just give it to somebody? It's not worth anything. A painting is only worth something until somebody buys it. It has zero potential. And in protest, he stacked up a bunch of his unsold paintings, and he was ready to set fire to them. And he said, go ahead, tax that. Until you sell it, it has no value. Same thing with the stock market. It could plummet down to zero tomorrow. How can you tax that?
What is it about these liberal bureaucrats? They spend money like crazy. It's not their money. They print money in the central banks, and then they want to take money from individuals, unjustified money from individuals, raising tax rates, as you suggested in the story and what the Democrats are talking about here. People really realize that money is created. The Federal Reserve, at least here, I don't know what the Bank of Canada does, but they print money. Even Ben Bernanke was talking about this during the 2008 financial crisis when he was interviewed on CBS television. They would ask a question, are you printing money? And he said, yes, in effect, we are printing money. Money is just created out of air. So in a way, they never taxed anybody, anything. Nobody paid income tax. They print the money, so the money would be out there anyway. The government, they just have to, it's a digital button on the computer there, and suddenly money is printed, and all these trillions of dollars that we've created out of thin air. So raising taxes, lowering taxes is irrelevant when the government can just print money, and they've been doing it, and they continue to do it. And it's such a manipulation that most people don't really understand what's going on out there. It's, they think, oh, well, if they don't raise taxes, they don't have enough income to pay their bills, and the country will, fall apart. Well, they just hit a button, and the money is there. And when they pay off Iran money, the way Obama did not too many years ago, was that big chunk of cash that suddenly appeared on their doorstep to placate them. Where'd that money come from? I mean, it was printed. I mean, it was created electronically, and then they probably ran it off in the presses and shipped it off in an airplane. So the whole thing is such a fraud. It's just really unbelievable to me. And when they talk about raising taxes and going after small businesses and individuals which get hurt in that type of situation, even more so, it's just infuriating. So I guess what you have to do is offset it. If you can trade the market or make money in your business and try to just keep making money and offset a government interference in your life. But that's an interesting story about the paintings, Jim. So it wouldn't surprise me.
The government backed off from
like that here.
Yeah, the government did back off, realizing what a public relations disaster it would be for one of Canada's top artists to torch all of his paintings in protest.
Right. The real question is, who is the government? Who is pulling the marionette strings? You have a figure up there, whether it's Trudeau or you had Biden and now Harris. I mean, who's really calling the shots? And it's not these people, because they don't have the brains to do it. They have, who's controlling it? Which financial advisors? What forces are out there politically? They're trying to accomplish these goals. I mean, it's not these top names. It's the underlings. It's you want to call the deep state or the secret government or whoever these people are who are behind these great proposals. I mean, these are the people that need to be weeded out. You know what I mean? It's like let's just change the subject altogether, like going to the woke problem at Disney, and the stock has, been decimated here in the last couple of years because of the woke problem over there. Well, who are the people at Disney or ABC, because Disney owns ABC now, who are actually calling the shots on this? Get the names of these people. Try to get them kicked out of power in that company. And the same thing with the people in the government. Find the names of the people in the government, both in Canada and U.S., behind these people that are actually proposing these ridiculous ideas, and they have their own agenda. Whether you can call them Marxists or communists or whatever you want to call them.
Well, take a look at how much politicians. Take a look at how much politicians are paid now. They're totally out of touch with how much it costs the average family to put food on the table, how much it costs to drive their car to work, how much clothing costs. they've gone astronomical. But these people who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, which the average person would consider a lottery, once-in-a-lifetime lottery win, they make every year, and a lot of it tax-free. So for them, raising taxes, so what? It doesn't affect them.
Right, and they justify it. Oh, we have to pay for the immigrants that have come into the country now. We have to support these people and pay them subsidies and pay for their health care and provide them assistance, which citizens of the country don't even receive. So, again, we just have bad people in bad places, and that's what creates these ridiculous proposals.
And it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle they sit on. I've gone to political conventions. Right. I've been to the hospitality suites. These guys, once they get a couple of drinks under the belt, they refer to the average citizen as the meat. Those ignorant people out there, they expect us to, they're in it for themselves. They make tremendous pensions. U.S. politicians get free medical care. How much do you pay in medical insurance a month, a year? These people, they're coddled. They're in a cocoon. They don't live in the real world. And as I always said, if minimum wage is so good, how come they don't work for it? We'll have more with Mark Leibovit right after this.
Recyclico, making lithium-ion last forever. Recyclico's patented recycling process achieves up to 100% recovery of battery metals from lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, and aluminum. Recyclico Battery Materials Incorporated trades on the TSX Venture AMY, on the OTCQB AMYZF, and Frankfurt ID4. For more information, visit recyclicode.com or phone us at 778-574-4444. Recyclico, making lithium-ion last forever.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mark Leibovit. Mark, Russian President Putin has just put a major ban on the exports of most nickel, uranium, and titanium. What has that done to the price of uranium?
Well, uranium has actually been in a corrective, downtrend up until a few days ago. It was actually correcting for several weeks. So I noticed we went long Cameco, which is the big uranium producer, Canadian, U.S., and that started to uptick here the last few days. So it's starting to rally as uranium's coming off a little trading bottom. Maybe it was tied to the Putin event. I can't connect the dots that way, but maybe that's what happened. But anyway, you had been in a correction for a while, and both the shares and the actual uranium. But I'm a big bull long term. I mean, it only makes sense. But you could have said this 20 years ago and been wrong. You know what I mean? Uranium eventually will get caught up with new nuclear plants and some of these new lower, what they call the lower energy nuclear devices that they're creating that apparently are small. They're compact, units. They're building those supposedly, but who knows how long those will get into full production.
Modular uranium, yeah, modular.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the term. That's supposed to be the big future, by the way. Getting invested in stocks that are building those. And there are some names out there that are getting into that business. Apparently, these are compact units that can be just installed in a very short period of time at very little money. Apparently, this is going to be the future if it's fully implemented for power across the world, where there's still less, reluctance to nuclear energy as there had been in the past. So, some of the statistics have come out. I read recently, like the 3 Mile Island incident years and years ago. Actually, nobody was actually hurt during that incident, even though it was given a lot of bad publicity. Chernobyl is a whole other story, and of course, the Japanese event is another story. But these are huge catastrophes. But the smaller, compact units are the future. But to answer your question about Putin, I don't know the connection other than we did see an uptick in the uranium stocks the last few days.
Well, the difference with Russian atomic power plants is they don't have a containment dome over them. So if they have an accident, it just sprays everywhere. the domes you see over the atomic power plants in the U.S. can withstand a 747 plowing into them. That's the difference, a containment building. And I guess these modular atomic power plants, well, what? The size of a phone booth with a concrete dome over it, I guess. But how many neighborhoods are going to allow them? Because as soon as you say the word nuke, people just freak out.
Yeah, they might. Listen, not here in Phoenix. We have the largest nuclear plant in the U.S., at least unless that new Georgia plant that came in is bigger. It's just west of town.
Yeah.
So, we have the largest one here, and that's powering, the southwest U.S., a good portion of it, along with Hoover Dam. But, I know people will say, well, they don't want to live on the west side of Phoenix close to the nuclear plant, but no problems there yet. But I know it was the most state-of-the-art unit when it was built years ago, so we'll see. But, there's risk in everything, you know what I mean? So
the Titanic was unsinkable, yeah.
Right. I mean, exactly. Or the stock market can't go down, or oil prices are never going to go up or down. There's fluctuations in every event and every situation. But so listen, I'm a proponent of it because it only makes sense long term. And we got military using nuclear, space craft using a nuclear. It's obvious unless we find some new technology, maybe alien technology like. That element 115 that supposedly didn't exist, that suddenly existed years later, that's supposed to be used by alien craft in Nevada, so, all kinds of fun stuff. There's new things discovered all the time. Maybe there'll be new elements discovered that have power potential greater than uranium. Time will tell.
The aliens aren't going to give us anything like that until we learn how to get along together.
That's true. In fact, some people say that, that are in that field, that say they don't think we're ready to be contacted yet. So,
yeah, the day we grow up and act like adults instead of a bunch of selfish children arguing over something in a sand pile when the same thing is just sitting on the ground right next to the sand pile.
That's true.
Yeah. Mark?
So we have an interesting market here, and we'll see what happens between now and the Fed move the end of next week, and with all these cycles coming to play, should be an interesting time of year. So, the bulls seem to be in charge here short term, Jim, so we'll give them the benefit of the doubt, crossing a lot of markets. Even oil was up today a little bit after a big decline. So good time to be in the markets, a lot of volatility and action here.
Mark, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Mark Leibovit, editor and publisher of the Leibovit VR newsletters. If you have any questions for Mark or for any of our guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.